Anyways, today we're going to macerate our skull plates so I can mount them. I'm going to mount the 10-pointer. The 8's really not, I don't know, hang it on a wall. It's just a little 8. Both of these are a lot smaller than what I usually shoot, but you got to macerate the skull or the skull plate before you can mount it inside a mount. And I'll try and show you how I'm going to do that. Paul had this little 8. I'm going to do a European mount on it. I haven't had a chance to get around to it yet, and it's been 10 degrees, but you got to store them somewhere where the critters aren't going to get to them. This is day 4 of our maceration. We're going to mount this deer. We're going to do a water change and maybe let it go another day, and then we'll show you putting it in the mount. But you gotta clean, you gotta get all the organic matter out of the skull. You know, blood's made inside bone, right? So you can't just cut it off and stick it in your mount or it's gonna rot, bring in bugs and everything else. So you either have to boil it or you gotta macerate it, and I don't feel like boiling it. It uses propane. You gotta watch it, stay with it, babysit it. Here you just put it in a bucket and leave it for about 5 days, and then it'll take care of itself. Okay guys, it's 10 degrees out here, and that is the perfect time to do stuff like this because you can't smell when it is cold. Scents don't travel very well. But we're going to pull this out and soak it in some Dawn dishwashing liquid for 2 or 3 days, and then we'll hit it with hydrogen peroxide and we're going to mount it. Okay, we're going to hang it up to let it dry in the sun. I will sanitize it, but not yet, because more than likely we're going to have to cut it about here and there. There's the eye socket and the form's going to come back, so we're going to have to cut it through there. So there's no sense in me spending a whole bunch of time, but I'm going to scrape around the burrs there and get it cleaned up, and when I know exactly how far. Okay guys, I thought I'd take a second and show you guys a tip I do a lot of times if I can. It is 8 degrees right now, and we're trying to macerate the skull, but we need to do a water change bad. When that bucket is full and you got to pack that and to go dump it, you got to worry about spilling it on yourself, right? Well, if we unplug that heater, that fish tank heater right there, pull it out, pull the head out, and let this sit for a few hours in this sub-freezing temperature, it will freeze, and then we can go carry the bucket and turn it upside down, and we just dump out the ice cube and we don't spill that water anywhere. So these are ready. I need to take them and get them mounted up, and I want to try and take you all along my journey of mounting this. I had to trim the sides a little bit, and I just use a coping saw because I can't get the saws all in there. And I want to do, and then I drilled them there. I don't really have a workbench, so I got bone fragments everywhere. It probably will ruin your drill bit, to be honest with you. This is the tanning solution that I use to tan that with. I don't even know if you can buy this stuff anymore, but I've used a ton of it. Okay guys, it's warmed up. This will probably be the last. We dumped the water, add new water, turn the heater back on. Finally warmed up. Another day or two and this will be done. Just hit it with the garden hose, and then we'll soak it in Dawn for a day, and then hydrogen peroxide inside a bag for a day. This was Paul's buck. So we just take it out here and just hit it with the garden hose. Everything comes off. I don't know why that hasn't fallen off yet, but we'll pick that off. And then we'll age it by the teeth. I'm really thinking this is a 2.5-year-old. And then we're gonna soak it in hydrogen peroxide, and I'll go ahead and score it for him, but I don't. Okay, the 10-pointer I'm gonna mount in Paul's 8-pointer, although I don't know, I think it's more like a 7-pointer. Does that count as a point or not? It's broke off. You take a bag that you would, this is a crock pot liner bag. I've also used turkey bags. I've done a couple dozen European mounts. I used to use containers, and now I just put the bag in there and I take some packing tape, clear packing tape. Otherwise it wants to push out around. But you got to be careful because the styloid process will poke a hole in a bag. You just go get one of these from the Dollar General store for $1 or $2. and fill it in. You wrap the strapping tape around so that it doesn't bulge out right here, because this is designed for a crock pot, and just seal it up like that and go around the burrs with the tape and leave you a little hole right here, and you just pour the hydrogen peroxide in, fold it over, tape it up. There you go. I usually let them sit 2 days, and then it'll be just as white as that bucket right there. My problem here is trying to make sure the squirrels don't get a hold of it. When I did that auric, the styloid processes on it poked a hole in the bottom of the bag, but you can see the action going on there. This also deodorizes it and sanitizes it, the oxygen. Okay, after a 2-day soak in a quart of Dollar General stores hydrogen peroxide, we're going to pull her out and take a look at her, let it dry. Anyways, we'll get it back to Paul here. Okay, there you go. Look how the conchas look. That's what I always go by, is the conchas. If you boil it, that stuff usually falls out, and I think that's pretty cool, but there's a little bit of wax here, and that'll just brush off once it's... I just pulled it out of the bag, and that'll wipe right off. Just let it sit here and dry out. Let all that hydrogen peroxide get off of it. Do not get any hydrogen peroxide on your antler burrs right here, or you'll turn them as white as that. So that's why you want that bag wrapped around there. But see, that stuff's just loose, and it'll brush right off, but it's still wet. So I don't know, guys, what do you think? Hydrogen peroxide started freezing on me. How old do you think this deer is? I think it's a 2.5-year-old. See how there's no wear on those teeth right there? He's got all 6. So leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I think it's a 2.5-year-old. Is it a 3.5 or a 2.5?